I just was like, turn the game off. Let's go home. It was fun while it lasted. I can't wait for basketball to start. I was so upset. As a Packers fan in the year of our Lord 2025, it would be safe to say that I have mixed feelings about Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, he's the greatest arm to ever throw the football. He's a once-in-a-lifetime talent. He brought us to Super Bowl, 4 MVPs, incredible playoff success, absolutely dominated our rivals in the division, will forever be one of the most compelling athletes to ever play the game, and it was a real privilege to watch him play for our team for, 50 years. But since the heyday and since glory days, that was to the 2021 season, it's safe to say that our relationship to Aaron has changed a little bit in Green Bay. What with the COVID scandal, all the ayahuasca, the Pat McAfee and Joe Rogan appearances, and of course, eventually leaving the team to play for the Jets and the Steelers, which both haven't gone very well. But as someone who, has a little bit of a frosty reception to the name Aaron Rodgers right now and is very much enjoying the current era of Jordan Love, I did want to take a moment to look back on the good times, remember what we used to have, and celebrate and cherish during this Christmas season one of my absolute favorite memories as a Packers fan, which was the 2018 Week 1 duel between the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears, also known to those of us who love the game as the Perk Rodgers game.
Aaron Rodgers, he's back, he's healthy, he's 100%, and it wouldn't be any surprise to see the Packers return to the playoffs after a one-year absence.
So to set the stage a little bit, the Packers were coming off of a year completely without Aaron Rodgers. This was the year that he broke his collarbone in week 1 against the Vikings and didn't play the entire season. We barely won any games. We beat the 0-16 Browns with 12 seconds on the clock. It was a brutal, stupid year as a Packers fan, and we had really high hopes coming into the next year with Aaron returning, and we were hoping to get back to the playoff. On the other side of the ball, the Bears were actually kind of in a similar position. They had young quarterback Mitch Trubisky, who they hadn't figured out yet was very bad at football. As well, they had just picked up Khalil Mack, who's now on the Chargers with my boy Tuli Tuipulotu. Shout out CHS Central Panthers, who was the up-and-coming defensive star.
A lot of optimism surrounding the Chicago Bears, and of course the Khalil Mack trade.
He didn't end up really panning out on the Bears. I more blame the Bears as a franchise for that because he's been quite good with the Chargers. But, I'm grateful that happened. So week 1 in Lambeau Field, and the Bears pretty much started out just mollywopping, I think is the only way to describe it, the Packers. It was a pretty demoralizing game even before the eventual important event in the game. The first drive saw Mitch Trubisky just absolutely carve up the defense, shoot the ball all the way downfield before he eventually ran it in.
For 72, look at this formation. Trubisky's going to keep it himself and take it into the end zone.
So not exactly the greatest way to start a game, but luckily it only got worse for the Packers. Chicago's defense came to play some fucking football. Khalil Mack was every bit as scary as we thought he was going to be, and he absolutely pounded the O-line, essentially forced us to punt every time we touched pigskin, which was, again, pretty frustrating considering the caliber of poor offense we had seen last season. So things were not shaping up the way we would like them to have. In the second quarter, Chicago extended the lead to 10-0 with a 26-yard field goal by playoff legend Cody Parkey. Shout out Cody Parkey. I love you as a Packers fan. That'll come back later. Once the Packers got the ball back, they faced a 3rd and 9 from their own 35. Rodgers was taken down by Roy Robertson and Khalil Mack for a 10-yard sack, and he was very slow to get up. He basically grabbed the back of his leg the second he went down, and I cannot describe to you how just deflating and demoralizing that was as a fan in that moment. I just saw the entire season go up in smoke like that.
And that is a sight that has everybody's heart stopping at Lambeau Field.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
I thought I had seen this. The plane hit the second tower. I was like, holy shit, it's over. We're going to be ass again. It's over.
And that's about as bad a sight as any Packer fan can see.
I just was like, turn the game off. Let's go home. It was fun while it lasted. I can't wait for basketball to start. I was so upset. I can still remember the gasp my mother let out, like she had just found out one of her children had been shot. It was a harrowing moment. So Rodgers could not walk on his legs at all. He had to be trucked out of the field on the cart, and there is just a beautiful shot of him staring off stoically into the distance as he is being taken into the locker room on a golf cart. And it is just so perfect. It so encapsulates who Aaron Rodgers was at that time, where he was a magical player who you never knew what was going on in his head. It was the better times when Aaron Rodgers didn't talk, and you just saw those steely blue eyes staring off into the distance, unsure of himself, unsure of the future, and you just gave up hope in that moment. After Rodgers entered the locker room, the game continued to get just worse and worse for the Packers. They essentially couldn't do anything without him. It especially looked bleak when Khalil Mack intercepted the ball.
And this time he's going to go down. It's going to be picked off by Mack. Mack with the interception. And Mack will take it all the way in for a touchdown. How crazy was that?
I know I was still watching at this point, but I don't know what would have possessed me at the time to not have turned the game off, because I always, a little self-outing here, I will always turn a game off if my team is getting whooped pretty badly, at least for 5 minutes. I need to take sort of a mental health break, if you will. Sort of collect myself, find my inner chi, my peace, my resolve, my will to live, whatever you want to call it. That's what happened here. I don't remember anything from this season. It didn't end up going very well for the Packers. I'll get to that later. But I remember this game so solidly in my mind. It was "it's so over" to "we're so back" chart elegantly displayed. And right, that interception was, we were in the pits of despair, the ninth ring. 'Twas belly of the beast. And so at halftime, Chicago had a 17-0 lead over the Packers. Rodgers did end up returning, though, at the end of the second half.
Chris, when's the last time you saw a guy leave in a cart and come back into the game?
At first, it didn't really make much of a difference. Essentially, both teams kind of just stalled out in the third quarter. They trade field goals to give the Bears a 20-3 lead. It was pretty obvious, though, that Aaron was not exactly all there. If you look at the footage of him coming out of that locker room, he's visibly high as a kite. Clearly gave him a little something in the locker room. He says later on that he passed all the tests. And by passed all the tests, I mean he took some major painkillers, and it was in this moment that Perk Rodgers was born. It took a little while for Perk Rodgers to kick in, let's say, though, because he did not a lot during that third quarter. They ended up trading field goals in the third quarter.
3 yards, Cody Parkey with the kick inside the right upper.
My sweet prince, Packers' all-time leading scorer, Mason Crosby, also knocked one down. Shout out Mason Crosby. Love you. Miss you. Wish we had your leg recently. So that brings us to the fourth quarter, 14 minutes left on the clock, and the Packers are down 17 points, 20-3. And this is when legend was born. Again, kind of. 14 minutes left on the clock in the fourth quarter. Aaron Rodgers delivered a fucking dime, 39 yards to Geronimo Allison for a touchdown to bring the score to 20-10.
And touchdown, Geronimo Allison. He beats Kyle Fuller, 39 yards, touchdown.
Now, given how the Bears had dominated the Packers in this game, you would think 20-10 with 14 minutes left seemed like a bit of a pipe dream. But you're forgetting this was prime comeback Aaron Rodgers, who had made a name for himself of just putting up last-second Hail Mary drives, incredible comeback wins that he was essentially known for. I mean, you can look up Aaron Rodgers too much time on YouTube, and there will be 40 different highlight reels for you to choose from. This was kind of his thing. As a Packers fan, I think I was starting to feel rumblings of hope, but I just know that across state lines in Chicagoland, that motherfuckers were feeling the sense of impending doom as they saw Perk Rodgers coming over the horizon, just slinging that rock hucking it downfield like he's handing out ninja loans. Just the absolute gunslinger that he was at the time. The Packers then forced a quick 3-and-out with an absolute banger of a play by Clinton Dix to stop them about 4th and 1.
Sims makes the catch, but he was behind the line to gain.
Essentially, as soon as Rodgers got the ball back on the second play of the drive, he delivers a pretty decent pass to Davante Adams, who then turns it into like a 30-yard after-catch run, blowing through multiple defenders, which put the Packers in beautiful scoring position. Then on the next set of downs, Rodgers hits Davante again to put them on the 10-yard line. And then just 2 plays later, pops another pass to Davante Adams, who runs it between 2 defenders up the sideline for the score, bringing it from 20-10 now to 20-17. And if the Bears weren't scared then, they certainly were now. Up 20-17 against Aaron Rodgers, Mitch Trubisky puts together a pretty solid drive up to their 20-yard line. However, they were stopped by the Green Bay defense on their own 20-yard line on a 3rd and 1 pass that was batted down. Not only did the Packers stop them from scoring a touchdown, they also stopped the clock with the incomplete pass. So with 2 minutes and 42 seconds left on the clock, again, my buddy Cody Parkey knocks it in for another 3-point lead, which leaves them 23-17 up on the Green Bay Packers with 2 minutes and 39 seconds left. And that's what we in the NFL know as too much fucking time. However, this game also almost ended completely different because on the first play of Packers drive, Aaron Rodgers almost threw like an interception directly to Kyle Fuller for the Bears, but luckily it bounced out of his arms, or unluckily, depending on if you're a bitch-ass Bears fan, bounced out of Kyle Fuller's arms, and the game was still alive. But of course, even with all that time left on the clock, the Packers didn't need it because on a 3rd and 10 of their opening possession, Aaron Rodgers hit Randall Cobb right in the middle of the field, completely wide open, with the entire middle section of the field essentially devoid of defenders, zigzagged his way up the field for a 75-yard touchdown run to put the Packers up 24-23.
He makes a second move down the field, and there's nobody there. Eddie Jackson had him in coverage. They stay with the blocks.
With 2 minutes and 13 seconds left on the clock, which, as we referred to before, is too much fucking time. However, luckily for the Packers, and once again, unluckily if you're a bitch-ass Bears fan, Mitch Trubisky was the one holding the ball now. So, with his own chance to rewrite the story and match Aaron Rodgers' greatness on the field, on a 4th and 9, Mitch Trubisky rolls right with Clay Matthews chasing and launches it across the field where it's knocked down by a rookie Jair Alexander. However, the game is not over because there was a flag.
But there's a flag down.
Defense. 15-yard penalty, automatic, 1st down.
However, this second chance ultimately leads to nothing, as on a 4th and 10 at the 50-yard line, Mitch Trubisky is brought down by Nick Perry and fumbles the ball, which it doesn't matter who gets the ball. Even if the Bears recovered it, it was 4th down, so it's a turnover on downs. And that's it. That's how the Packers took the day. One of my favorite things about how the way this game ends, with 2 seconds left in the game, the Packers snap the ball, Aaron Rodgers gets it in shotgun, steps back, and then just hucks it to Iowa. Just fucking throws it to nowhere. I think that's how all rivalry games should end, instead of being in, like, if you have the ball and you can kneel it out in victory formation, kneel it out until there's 2 seconds left, spike the ball, and then just fucking throw it to the Make-A-Wish kid in Section 501, you know?
It's the largest 4th quarter deficit they have ever overcome. 17 points in the 4th. Stunning.
And that was the Perk Rodgers game, where a man was crippled and then, by the grace of God and by the grace of the opioid epidemic, is able to put together an absolutely dynamite performance in the 4th quarter to give his team a much-needed win against a division rival. So, why is this called the Perk Rodgers game? We talked about how he looks high as a kite walking onto the field out of the locker room, and that's clue number 1. Clue number 2 is the fact that he was so injured that he couldn't walk just like 20 minutes prior to returning to the game. Is another indication that there was probably something helping him walk, and I don't think it was a prayer. You know, I don't think it was Kevin Gates putting his hand on the engine to start the car. The biggest indication that he was probably on a little something is the post-game interview where he delivers one of the most just incoherent, spacey, demented.
It's hard to, it is. But it's the Bear-Packer rivalry. So it would have had to take something really catastrophic injury-wise to keep me off the field in the second half. You know, I went in the locker room, did all the tests, and then I was in our indoor facility trying to get it loosened up. But I knew once I got back on the field, the adrenaline started going, I'd be able to hang in there.
So I am confident that this man is debilitatingly high on opiates at this point, but I'll let you judge for yourself. I want to acknowledge that all NFL players are on painkillers when they play the game. If you listen to the way they describe playing a game as like getting in car crashes every single play, there's no way they're not playing. They're playing with just like crushed up ibuprofen. This is not like an uncommon thing. Everyone should be Perk, their last name. But when you have a guy like Rodgers who delivers a career performance in the way he did today, clearly high as fuck off Percocet, and then later on saying that, yeah, everyone takes opiates. When asked if he did, he was like, yes, I took Percocet.
Did they make sure you weren't playing on that stuff?
No, you played, definitely. Yeah.
Wow. And what, did you ever play on it?
Yeah.
What did you play on?
Percocet.
I took Percocet and beat the shit out of the Chicago Bears. And I'll always love him for that. This game didn't really matter in the sense that the Packers were really bad that season, and the Bears were really, really good. They ended up finishing 12-4 and taking the division. They beat the brakes off the Packers in December later on in that season. You know, they ended up making a really deep playoff run.
And he hits the upright again.
Bears season's going to end on a double doink.
But as a Packers fan, the outcome of the season definitely favored the Packers because this was the season fuck-ass Mike McCarthy was fired. The man who may have won us a Super Bowl, but he definitely always reminded me of the fat Nazi officers from Call of Duty 2. That ends our little tale of Perk Rodgers, the little engine that could. I just want to thank you for watching. If you're a Bears fan, I'm glad that our rivalry is back. You guys have been shit eaters for a long time. Thank you for taking a trip down memory lane with me. Thank you, Aaron Rodgers, for all the great years and then immediately being ass as soon as you left our team. I always love you. Once you retire, I will finally get your jersey. And when people ask me, hey, is that Aaron Rodgers? I'll say no. That's Perk Rodgers, baby. Thank you, my king. May you continue enjoying Percocet and Vicodin deep into your old age. I didn't even touch on the ayahuasca. Damn.